Alrighty, greetings and welcome back to another wristwatch video and another wristwatch review. And today we are going to be talking about another watch from the Aliexpress website. So it's been a while since we've done a review of an Aliexpress watch brand. Feels kind of good to be back on this part of the wristwatch world. And of course, as you can see by the title, today we are talking about the brand Steeldive and one of their most popular, if not the most popular model, the Steeldive 1970, aka this is the homage to the Seiko Captain Willard. But before we check this watch close up, then talk about the pros and cons. Wristwatch check, what am I wearing today? Well, because this is an Aliexpress watch, I'm wearing my Aliexpress diver. It is the San Martin Vintage Diver. This is a beautiful, amazing, excellent value for money diver watch, and I already made a review of this watch. If you're interested, link is of course in the description of the video. So let's switch perspectives, take a closer look at the Steeldive 1970, then come back here, talk about the pros and cons, and overall if I recommend you to buy it. Alrighty, so it's time to take a look at the watch close up, but before we do that, let's take a closer look at the packaging the watch comes in. So I think this box is very familiar to you if you watched my vintage diver review, because this is the identical box this watch came in. The only difference is the logo here. It used to say San Martin, and now it says Steeldive. Essentially, a bunch of brands from Aliexpress use the identical box. The only thing they change is the sticker where they put their own logo. So besides the logo, it's a fully black plastic box, so nothing at the sides, nothing at the back, nothing at the bottom. And how you open the box is by flipping these little flaps up, and then you can open it and see what is inside. So let's lift it up. And there is the sponge inside protecting the watch and all other content within the box. And besides the watch, which we will move aside for now, we get something pretty cool. It is this little sizing tool. So I use this tool to size the 1970 Steeldive diver watch. I always like to get little watch tools like this. Also, here are the spare links I had to remove for my very small wrist. So we will just move these to the side as well. We also have the instruction manual, but let's face it, who really reads instructions for these kinds of watches? Also, we have an international warranty card, which is of course not signed. I guess, I don't know why they include this, honestly. It's just so pointless. And also we have the hang tag that came on the watch. And that's more or less it, nothing else inside this little box. However, it's pretty cool. It's very secure. I like it because you know your watch will come in one piece if it's inside a box such as this one. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at the star of the show, the Steeldive 1970. Starting with the diameter, as we always do. The diameter of the watch is 44 millimeters. The thickness of the watch is 13.5 millimeters. The lug width is 20 millimeters. And the lug to lug distance is 46.8, so almost 47 millimeters. The case of the watch is made, of course, out of 316L stainless steel, which is to be expected at this price point. And we have a mixed finishing. We have some polishing on the sides, and we have some brushing at the top of the case. However, if we take a closer look at the brushing, you will notice that it's not the classic downwards brushing. It's more of a circular brushing going around the case, which I think is pretty cool. The crown is at the 4 o'clock position, and it is protected by 2 crown guards. It is a sign crown with the Steeldive logo, and also it is a screw down crown. So essentially, if you want to change anything on the watch, you have to unscrew the crown, change the settings, then screw it back in to obtain the maximum water resistance this watch is stated for having. And the water resistance that is stated for this watch is 200 meters. What does this mean? Well, it means you can do basically anything with this watch. You can dive, you can swim, you can take a shower, wash your hands with this watch. As long as this crown is screwed down properly, you have no issues with water coming in. Now, the crystal protecting the dial of this watch is a sapphire crystal, and as you can see, the sapphire crystal is raised above the bezel. However, it is flat, so it's not like a raised dome sapphire crystal like my Sidecar GMT. It is a flat piece of sapphire crystal. With regards to the bezel is actually ceramic. It is not aluminum, as you can see by how shiny the bezel is. And also it is a 120 click unidirectional dive bezel with basically no backplate whatsoever. And the clicks are very well made. They're very precise, very tactile. So let's just hear how the clicks sound. yeah, I really like the bezel on this watch. I think it has a very nice action indeed. And also something that separates it from Seiko's is the fact that it aligns. Okay, I didn't align it right now because I didn't put the bezel back in the right place. Let me just align it so I can show you. But yeah, as you can see, the bezel actually aligns with the rest of the watch, which I think is very nice. And now, while we're here, let's take a closer look at the dial of the watch. So we have a classic black dial. It's not like a matte black, it's just a pure black dial. The hour markers are applied. We have double batons at the 12 o'clock position and rectangles everywhere else. However, the rectangles at the 6 and 9 o'clock position are bigger, slightly larger than the other ones. We have a date wheel, a date window at the 3 o'clock position, and it is, as you can see, surrounded by this little metal rectangle here, which I think is a nice detail. The minute track is printed going around the dial. Beneath the 12 o'clock position, we have the Steeldive logo printed on the dial, and above the 6 o'clock, it says automatic water 200 meters resist. So not a lot of text. The dial actually looks pretty nice in my opinion. The hour and minute hand of the watch are classic stick hour markers with a very cool little second hand that looks like a paddle. At least it reminds me of a paddle. Also, having in mind that this is a dive watch, there is of course some lume, and the lume on this watch is pretty nice. It is a mix of BGW9 lume and C3 Super Luminoa, where the BGW9 lume is on the ceramic bezel and the C3 lume is on the hour markers and hands of the watch. The longevity is pretty nice. However, I noticed that the lume on the bezel and the hands last longer than the lume on the hour markers. Kind of an interesting choice, but overall, I like the lume, especially considering the price point of this watch. And as you can see, the seconds hand is doing a smooth sweeping motion around the dial. It's not going tick tock, tick tock. This usually indicates that this is in fact a mechanical movement, and it is. It is an automatic NH35. What is the NH35? Well, it's basically like an export version of Seiko's for R35 movement. It beats at 21,600 beats per hour. It has 24 jewels, 41 hours of power reserve when fully wound, and the movement is hacking and hand winding. Unfortunately, we can't really see the movement because at the back there is a solid case back, but let's open up so we can take a closer look at the case back. And here we also have the Steeldive logo with some information, all stainless steel, automatic. What else does it say? Movement NH35, dive 200mm by Steeldive. So yeah, again, I like the case back. I think it looks very nice. And that's it regarding the watch itself. Let's take a closer look at the bracelet and clasp of the watch. So the bracelet is actually solid links. It also has solid end links, and the finishing is brushing. It is a downwards brushing going all the way down the links of the bracelet. With regards to the clasp of the watch, it is in fact a milled clasp. So you have this little safety latch, which you pull up, you click the buttons to open the clasp. As you can see, it's milled, it's not pressed metal, which is fairly good in my opinion. Also, we have the Steeldive logo at the top of the clasp, as well as the name Steeldive on the safety latch. And that's more or less it. Oh yeah, by the way, I just want to say it has a lot of micro adjusts, which is cool because you will most likely be able to make this watch fit perfectly on your wrist. Now, let's take a look at how the watch looks on my wrist. So for reference, I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist. So maybe then you can decide if this watch would look good on you or not. Because of the short lug to lug, it looks good on most wrists, at least in my opinion. And that's it. This is how the watch looks on my wrist. Now, even though I have a smaller wrist, I think it looks okay considering the diameter of 44 millimeters. And finally, what I want to show you is how to properly set the watch. So you unscrew the crown. So when we unscrew the crown, on the default position, we can hand wind the watch by rotating the crown upwards. So this is how it sounds. Relatively silent hand winding. When we pull the crown to the first position, we can set the date of the watch. When we pull the crown to the second position, as you can see, the seconds hand stopped, so it is a hacking movement. And then we can set the watch whatever way we like to. And then when we're done, we just click it back, screw it down, and we are all set to go. It is a lot of It takes a lot to screw the crown down back in properly. And that's it. That was the Steeldive 1970 close-up. So now let's go back to the original perspective, talk about the pros and cons, and overall if I recommend you to buy this watch. And we're back, so that was the Steeldive 1970 close-up. So now we come to the part of the video where we talk about the pros and cons of the watch, my overall impressions of it, and finally come to the conclusion if I recommend you to buy this watch. But before you do all of that, I just want to invite you to follow the Instagram page QIunit, that's QI.UNIT, because he is, the owner of the page is the person who borrowed me his Steeldive watch. So if it wasn't for him, I would not have been able to make this review. So Dan, thank you very much for this watch. It is truly awesome. And please follow this page. He has excellent watch content. I'm sure you will like it. I will leave a link to his Instagram page in the description of this video. Now let's start with the pros of the Steeldive watch, and there are many pros to be had. The first pro I listed was the movement, because this watch has the legendary Seiko NH35 movement. What movement is that? Well, that's basically like the export version of the 4R35 movement. It is a 21,600 beat reliable movement. Most semi-competent watchmakers will be able to service the movement. You can source the parts easily, and it should not be expensive to service this movement. So that is definitely a pro in this watch. The next pro is the sapphire crystal. If you followed me for any amount of time, watched any of my watch reviews, you would know that sapphire crystal is always a positive, always a pro in my videos. Why? Well, because I just appreciate the scratch resistance of sapphire crystal. Also, the ceramic bezel is a pro because, again, I appreciate the scratch resistance of the ceramic bezel. And another thing, the way everything reflects on the ceramic bezel just gives watches a bit more of a luxury feel, at least for me. So I appreciate a good ceramic bezel on a dive watch. The lume is also a pro. We have a mix of BGW9 and C3 Super Luminova, BGW9 being on the bezel and C3 on the hour markers and hands of the watch. The longevity is fairly good for the price, so again, lume is definitely a pro for this watch. Also the bracelet with its solid end links, and an okay level of finishing, again considering the price of the watch, so that's why it's a pro. The clasp as well is a pro. The milled clasp is excellent. It's not like stamped metal, which you would find on most Orient divers, which are even like double or triple the price of this watch. So the clasp is very, very good, punches way above its category, at least price-wise. The water resistance is a pro because, you know, when you screw down the crown, you have no issues with water. You can go swimming, diving, wash your hands, take a shower, whatever you like to do with the watch, and water will not be an issue. Also, another pro I listed was the size, more precisely the lug-to-lug distance. Why? Well, because it has a very short lug-to-lug distance considering the diameter of the watch, and it means that a lot of people can wear this. Even people like myself with smaller wrists, they can wear this watch and they can still pull it off. So because it's a watch that fits most wrists, even though it has a fairly large diameter, at least for my taste, I have to put the size as a pro. And finally, the biggest pro of this watch is definitely the price, because for around $100 you get a very, very well spec'd watch. So the price value proposition is amazing. Price is definitely the biggest pro of this watch. But like any watch, this one also has some cons, and I found three. One of those is a personal con to me, but still I think I should list it. The first con is the end links, because the end links don't really fit with the case, which I don't like. The lugs are slightly longer and they protrude compared to the bracelet, and then we have this sharp edge on it, which I don't know, I just don't like it, so I had to put it as a con. The second con is, well, to keep this review as objective as possible, I have to list the fact that this is an homage watch as a con, because some people would say that this watch is not an homage, it's a copy, because it's fairly close. It's almost like a 1-to-1 to the Seiko 6105 or the Captain Willard. So that's why, to keep this review at least as objective as I can, I have to list the fact that this is an homage watch as a con. And the final con, and this is more of a personal con to me, I just don't like the design of this watch, or more precisely, the design of the case of the watch. I'm more of a classic diver guy, something like my St. Martin Submariner, which is based on the Rolex Submariner. I just don't like this big bulky case. I don't like bulky watches, so for me personally, this design just doesn't work. I like the bezel, I like the dial of the watch, I like the bracelet, but the case just doesn't work for me. But again, this is just a very personal con if you ask me. And that's pretty much it with regards to the cons. And finally, what I have to say is that the watch is surprisingly comfortable to wear. So I've been wearing this watch for over a week now, every single day, more or less all day. I only take it off when I go to sleep. And I have to say it is very, very comfortable to wear. A bit more on the heavy side, I have to admit. But besides that, if you like more heavier watches, this watch will fit like a glove. Even though it looks a bit bulky, because of the case design, it does wear excellent. And the short lug distance means that most people can pull this off, so you don't have any issues with that if you have smaller wrists. Also, what I like is the crown being at the 4 o'clock position, because then when you bend your wrists, the crown definitely will not dig into it, which I do appreciate, especially if you like to wear watches like this when you work out. So the crown at the 4 o'clock position will upgrade your comfort levels. All in all, I have to say this is a very comfortable, reliable dive watch with amazing price value proposition. And if you're interested in buying this watch, I will leave an affiliate link in the description of this video. And by buying through that link, you are helping my channel out. It doesn't change the price for you. I just get a small commission from the affiliate link. And if you do buy this watch through that link, I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for your support. Finally, to conclude, should you buy this watch? Yes, absolutely, 100%. If you like the design of this watch, buy it. You will have no issues with it. It will be an excellent buy for you. If you don't like the design, maybe try St. Martin, try Pagani Design, or some other AliExpress brand. Try Escape in Time. Escape in Time have excellent watches. But yes, overall, I do recommend you buy this watch if you like the design. And that's pretty much it with regards to this video. Follow KeyUnit on Instagram. Link is in the description of this video. He's an amazing guy. He has excellent watch content. And if you like this video, of course, leave a thumbs up. If you dislike the video, well, leave a dislike. And maybe give me some suggestions on how I can improve my content. Subscribe if you want to see more wristwatch or fragrance related videos. And until next time, guys, have a great day and bye.